Hi guys, this is your girl Wakeji Kamore and welcome to Reflections by Wakeji Kamore. All right, guys. We are continuing the story of the book of 2nd Kings, and we are in chapter 12 today. Again, please pause and read the chapter. We agreed that in this, we are going to be reading the chapters for ourselves before we listen to the summary and the lessons. As you do that, if you're here for the very first time, please subscribe, like, share, and most importantly, click the notification bell so that you never miss any recording that goes up. So in this chapter, which is chapter 12 that we're looking at today, Joash is king. You guys remember the young king who is 7 years old? So he's king, and of course with much counsel from Jehoiada the priest, because seriously, at 7 years old, what decisions are you making? So he's under the counsel of the priest. So the Bible records that all his life, Joash did what was pleasing in the Lord's sight because Jehoiada the priest was instructing him. Yet, even so, even after, he was still being instructed and whatever, he did not destroy the pagan shrines, and the people still offered sacrifices and burnt incense there. And he was king for a whole 40 years. So clearly this guy lived for 47 years. That's very young. That's like someone I know. That's very young. But anyway, one of the king's desire, this young king desire, was to repair the temple of the Lord. So he instructed the Levites to take some of the money that was brought in as sacred offerings to the Lord's regular assessment, to the payment of vows, to voluntary gifts. So he instructed them to take some of that money and to use it to repair the temple of the Lord. But while in 23rd year of him being king, the temple still was not repaired. My Levites now wanafanya kazi yao. It was not being repaired because the priests were using all the money for their own needs, and they were not paying the workers, so the workers were not working. They were not paying the people who were supposed to repair the temple. So they were not working, they were not repairing. So a whole 23 years, Nabado, he was king for 23 years, but he stayed the same thing na watu hawafanyi. So what did he do? He decided to stop the priests from collecting those offerings and instead placed a chest with a small hole at the door so that people would place the offering in it. He later put honest men in charge of paying the workers, and finally the temple was repaired. So he decided, let's just put a big container or chest or, chest. I don't know what to say if I don't say chest, because I can't imagine it was a plastic container. I also can't imagine it was a kiondo. It was a chest. It was big, and it was probably very well decorated. So he put it there. It had a small hole, so people would put the offering in there instead of giving it to the priest. And now he appointed someone who actually paid the workers, and the temple was finally repaired. The story then shifts to the king of Syria, who is Hazael. And King Hazael decided to go to war with Gath, and also intended to war with Jerusalem, the capital of Judah. So King Joash akasikia, huyu King Hazael, he's coming to actually bring analeta vita huku Judah. So what did he do? He collected all the sacred objects. From all the kings, from Jehoshaphat, from Jehoram, from Ahijah, all the previous kings of Judah. He collected all those sacred objects that they had, given into the temple, everything that they had probably looted, and he gave them to Hazael, along with all the gold in the treasuries of the Lord's temple and the royal palace. So Hazael called off his attack in Jerusalem. Basically, he bribed him. He bribed him so that he doesn't bring war to Jerusalem. But now they have been left without gold. They have been left without any sacred objects. It's a lose-lose situation. Anyway, so Joash's days, it says, were good until some men in his cabinet administrators decided to conspire against him, and they had him killed, and so he died at the age of 47. His son Amaziah took over the throne in his place. So Joash has died at the end of this chapter. So what are the lessons that I learned from this chapter? First, it's unfortunate that King Joash spent 6 of his early years in the Lord's temple being taught the ways of the Lord by Jehoiada the priest. Yet when he became king, he did not think to have all the pagan shrines destroyed. I'm like, you are under the counsel of a priest. By now, you should have known that God doesn't like idol worship at all. So why is it that when you have full capacity and full authority to destroy the pagans. You're not. And the Bible tells us that all his life, Joash did what was pleasing in the Lord's sight because Jehoiada the priest instructed him. Yet even so, he did not destroy the pagan shrines, and the people still offered sacrifices and burnt incense there. All right, let me first take you out from the book of 2 Kings and take you forward to the book of 2 Chronicles. So 2 Chronicles 24 verse 17 to verse 18. It says, after the death of Jehoiada, the princes of Judah came and paid homage to the king, who is now Joash, and the king listened to them. And they abandoned the house of the Lord, the God of their ancestors, and began to serve the Asherahs and the idols. And because of this crime, of theirs, wrath became upon Judah and Jerusalem. So, what this Bible tells us, or rather what this story tells us, is that Joash was good for as long as Jehoiada was alive. Immediately Jehoiada the priest died, he completely abandoned the house of the Lord and he began to worship idols. So King Joash was a tragic example of a propped up faith, which leads to a reflection question of the day. How strong is your faith? Is it being propped up by your parents? Is it being propped up by a Christian leader or a spiritual mentor that is guiding you? Is your faith your own faith? Have you gotten to a place where, yes, you've had good counsel, you have listened to the word of God, you have read the word of God, and you have made up your mind to actually follow the ways of the Lord? Or is your faith just propped up? As in, let me tell you the picture that comes to mind. In our shags, when we have many bananas, so when a banana is full grown, it's still up the banana tree, but it's full grown. Tunangoja ikue ndio tuikate. The banana tree becomes very heavy and it starts to slant as if it's about to fall. So what do? We take I don't know that to call it a log or a tree or a stick, something big, not a stick, like a branchish kind of thing that has like a Y at the end, and then we prop up the banana tree. But the minute that propping up is removed, that whole banana tree will come crumbling down. The banana and the banana tree will come crumbling down. And the worst part is that if you remove that propped tree that is propping the banana tree, if you remove it without having cut the banana will hit the ground and it will probably crack and it will be destroyed. So that's the image that I have when I think about King Joash. His faith was a propped up faith. He didn't have faith. He only had good counsel. He had good counsel for so many years, yet he actually never had a relationship with God. It is so sad. It is so sad. So what decisions are you making when you don't have a large crowd of Christian friends to pressure you in the right direction? It is sad that Joash spent his time in the guidance of a priest, but he never really captured the essence of a relationship with God. So we're spending time under the counsel of godly men, but we never get really into a personal relationship with God. I hope you're not spending time just listening to my voice, listening to these Bible summaries, listening to other sermons, listening to, good counsel of people, but you really never get the essence of having a relationship with God. That's the most important thing. That's the whole point, even doing this whole Bible summary, that you get your own personal relationship with God, that you don't have a propped up faith. So think about that. Think about your faith. Think about the decisions that you make when nobody is watching you, when nobody is telling you, oh, this is a Christian thing to do. Is your faith strong enough? Is your faith your own, or is it a propped up faith? Thank you guys for listening to me. This is Wakeji Kamore, and this has been Reflections by Wakeji Kamore. See you tomorrow.